Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to today's female founder entrepreneurial discussion. I'm joined by such an incredible group of female leaders in the fashion space. Before we dive in, I'm just going to do some quick introductions. My name is Brooke Jaffe. I am a fashion expert and contributing editor at Penske Media. In no particular order, I'm going to introduce, I've got Jennifer Raid on the phone, incredible stylist, costume designer extraordinaire, Lindsay Dupuis, and excuse me if I'm not saying everyone's name perfectly, but she's an incredible celebrity stylist. You may have seen Brittany Snow amongst many others in the community wearing her amazing looks. We've got Stephanie Walters Abramo and Molly Faith Good of Walters Faith Jewelry, which is hence the awesome neck candy that we are seeing on Molly. And so let's just dive right in. I think this is a really important subject for all of the women out there who are budding entrepreneurs. It's really scary, the proposition of taking on your own business. So I'm sort of curious, when was that crystallizing moment in your career where you realized you had to be your own boss?
Who wants to go first?
Or what made you want to be your own boss?
I'll go just quickly. I just feel like I was raised by really strong women, and all of my uncles were entrepreneurs, and I always saw what freedom that gave them in their family life. Sometimes, our jobs are also 24/7 when you're an entrepreneur, as everyone knows on this panel. But I feel like I was kind of just from a child, I always knew I wanted to work for myself in the end, but took a lot of years to get there, and I enjoyed the journey every chapter it was, and I loved being an assistant, an associate, styling director, for others before I got here. But I think just from the start, I knew in the end game was working for myself.
That's great. You talk about your end game like you're an old lady, but you're a very young woman. So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about the journey. I mean, many of you have backgrounds doing a lot of other things before maybe starting to work for yourself. So does anybody want to talk about kind of the road, sometimes there's a long road before you actually can take on your own business?
I mean, I just say one thing on that topic, which is, even though from appearances, I guess, and in a lot of ways, we all are our own bosses, as every stylist is, designer, stylist, whatever. The reality is it's still very, very collaborative. And whether that's Lindsay working with a client or jewelers that still have to please the stores that they're selling to and make things with a manufacturer, like I'm wearing a shirt from my own brand that's coming out in a month. And even if lots of little design aspects of it you are in control of, nonetheless, we all still, in the film industry or fashion as a whole, it's not like our clients are dress-up dolls, whether it's a publicist, business manager, a record label, even a client's boyfriend or husband or whatever, their dog. Everybody has an opinion on what we're doing. So it's a kind of a fine balance of, yes, being your own boss, but also figuring out how to please everyone while not losing your own aesthetic in the process.
I think that's really important. So it's sort of this idea that just because you become your own boss, you don't become an island unto yourself. You still have to create a community, and you still have to please the members of that community while sticking to some type of core value set. This is something that I actually think is very interesting, and I love you guys to talk about. Is it important to know what your kind of brand motto is, or values that you want to adhere to before you set up a business?
So I'll jump in here. For Molly and I, we met in our past life working together, for someone else. And then, kind of alluding to your first question, we both had branched out, did different things, and regrouped a couple of years later, deciding to form Walters Faith. We always say, and this is as our owners and our own boss as partners, without Molly, I don't have designs, and without me, nothing gets done. So we important to have that partnership and someone you can bounce off of. And with that, when we started Walter's Faith, perhaps it was Molly's past experience in marketing and having an eye for her own designs. For us, we knew we wanted to be a brand. And if you want to be a brand, the single most defining factor of becoming a brand is someone walking down the street, seeing a piece of jewelry or a t-shirt or a specific style and saying, oh my God, is that Walter's Faith? To be able to point something out, then you can say, wow, we've created a point of view and we have a brand. And there's a lot of companies out there that don't care so much about branding. They just make beautiful product, but there's no real story. For us, telling that story and staying true to that story 7 years in, it helps guide you. So we knew who our customer was and who our girl was before we ever made a piece of jewelry.
I'm just going to jump in there, Steph. I think what we try to do is, back to your other question, Brooke, is that we can't please everyone. We know that. So while I might want to design something that, you know, I get excited by, maybe something with color, if it doesn't fall within the Walter's Faith world, we just don't create it, because we are trying to stick to our brand manifesto and our, you know, our brand's image. But that's why we appreciate things that other designers do. And, you know, it doesn't stop us. It just won't end up within our collection.
I would think that one of the realities of the world we live in right now is very real-time feedback. So you know instantly when you post something on social media or one of your clients walks on a red carpet, if the world likes it or doesn't like it, or maybe some do and some don't. How do you shield yourself from the feedback to stick to that principle set?
Well, the feedback for jewelry can always be very different. What works for a stylist when they're pulling, or a publicist when they're pulling from us, is not always the same as what's selling through in stores. So big campaigns could be, you know, of the moment, and that's what our PR company is getting requests for and pulling, but does not mean that that's what's selling ultimately to the end consumer. So you have to be able to know, you know, what someone's favorite thing is and why, and whether it's going to sell or it's for good press.
And I know from a styling standpoint, which Jen will attest to, you have to do things just with conviction. You know, you have to know, you have to believe in every look that walks out the door. You have to know that your client does too, because I know a lot of mine wear their heart on their sleeve. So I can feel when they're in a look. If I feel like I'm pushing something that I believe in or that I love and I see it on their face, I kind of take a step back for a second. I'm always there to tell them my opinion because that's my job, but they need to believe in it because they're going to wear it. Having that attitude is all a part of the final look. So the way they wear it in the end is so important. Jen.
Yeah, for me, I honestly really don't read very much press on something. I mean, if there's a certain look that just, you know, it's unavoidable, you go on MSN or Yahoo just to check any news type of thing,
right?
And you unavoidably can't see something that you did. But truthfully, it's kind of like we're all saying the same thing. You've got to have a point of view, and you have to stick to it, because, you know, no matter what, I mean, whether that's Brittany Snow or whoever our client might be at the time, yeah, it is they are the ones who are walking the red carpet, and they have to feel good. And you do know in a fitting, if somebody puts something on and they're sort of iffy about it, but when they put on the right thing, suddenly they're like, they're, you know, their whole attitude, their posture, everything changes. And that's when you know you've really hit on something. But, and I say this all the time, like people say, oh, what's it like to work in fashion? But I don't work in fashion. I work in people. I work in people. Fashion might be the vehicle with which I do it, but ultimately I work in people. And if you even though I'll ask anybody, all my assistants, the tailor, anyone who's at a fitting or even walking by, I will stop and be like, hey, what do you think of this? But at the end of the fitting or the moment, it might have to just come down to me saying, you know, one of us is a stylist and it's me. So you kind of have to, it's marriage. marriage. You know, when you're working that closely with someone, it really is like a marriage, and there has to be some level of trust there, that because the bottom line is we don't get jobs, Lindsay and I and all of our other fellow stylists, if our clients don't look good. So even though, yes, they are the ones walking down the red carpet, it often falls back on our name. Jen Raid did that. Lindsay Dupuis did that. So it's like Warren Buffett says, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to fuck it up. So you do have to have that conviction, because it always falls back on the stylist, and that's how we get the next job and the next job. So it's a tough balance, you know, to
yeah. I mean, I think that part of being a boss, and if that's what we're really talking about, and being a leader, is owning the responsibility of our decisions. I think that's, you know, part of the consideration process when you're thinking, do I really want to be the name on the door? Because you are accountable for all of those things.
And one thing in there also,
yeah,
Molly and I don't know so much with styling, but for us, we deal with that a lot. We've had to learn to be unapologetic about maybe what our retail price is on something. You know, just because it's not for one girl in her 30s doesn't mean it's not for someone else or a different customer. So sometimes we get scared of what we're going to tell someone the price is, but we know what goes into making a piece and standing behind our costs. So I think that's when we've over the years had to become unapologetic for why something is priced the way it is.
That's really interesting. So my next question is, you know, obviously we're in a new reality. A lot of us been home, quarantined. And I think another quality of a leader, in addition to accepting responsibility, building your community of support, is that you need to be fairly nimble and flexible to adjust to different situations that maybe you didn't forecast. And COVID-19 is definitely one of those situations. So can you guys talk a little bit about how you've had to adjust your businesses during this time? Or what you think will be different afterwards?
Well, I think this has changed the world, no question. And I think at first, Stephanie and I looked at each other and we said, listen, we're a small business. Let's just be smart and slow down the pace. We have constant communications with our digital marketing company, our public relations company, and some of the other companies we work with. And we said, let's just take a deep breath and see how this pans out. We're a fine jewelry company. We didn't want to come across pushing sparkly jewelry during a pandemic where people were, you know, dying and sick and losing their jobs. It was just, you know, and a time for us to just take a deep breath and take a step back. As we watched what was going on, people were shopping online and people were using their phones for Instagram and social media, seeing what was being posted. So we started to post, and we were able to get to Mother's Day and have a decent Mother's Day, thanks to, you know, the fact that we have an e-commerce site. All our wholesale partners did, you know, close their shops. None of our brick and mortar stores were open. So that, you know, was interesting to watch how they adjusted their businesses to satisfy their customers during this pandemic. And now we're trying to pivot our business into, you know, more direct to consumer, more e-commerce sales. Stephanie and I are both now working remotely from our own homes. We're not in our office together, and we're making it work. I mean, that I just like every other business, I think we're just trying to figure out the best way to navigate through this new world.
And also to add to that, back to what Jen said before about, you know, the Warren Buffett quote, I think for us as a brand, we were very cautious what we were posting, whether it was through the pandemic and then the riots, because as you know, you can spend, for us, 7 years building a brand, and all it takes is one post to also diminish that reputation and people's trust in you. So sometimes you also have to, before you, for anyone out there starting a business, before you rush to just go and post and comment and do, really take a step back and think about what you're about to do or post and hit enter and could this come back to hurt you? Maybe you're better off not posting on something on Instagram and waiting one more week before you send out that newsletter, if in the end it may help you and send the right message, based on the times.
Yeah, and just to kind of on both of the last things that you said, on all of it really, like this brand that is my brand, it's called Be Basics, and it'll be available in about a month, like mid-April. And it was always planned to be direct to consumer, like in going from extra small or extra small to 3X full size range, always planned to be direct to consumer. And I feel like for us, it's a great thing, because I think it's easier. And I think, most women aren't lining up to say, oh, I can't wait to try that top on with, overhead fluorescent lighting at the mall, where you can just go online and shop. And even with the point of view and just balancing it all is so hard. This is all made in LA, made in America. Really, great fabric. This is a bamboo jersey. I want to stand up and show you, even though my head's going to get chopped off, but let's just say I have an obsession with pockets.
Go for it, Jen.
I have an obsession with pockets. I just want to be straight up with that. So it's like a little tunic, and like it has you probably can't even see, this is the worst, but it's like the little shearing, and like I have it French tucked right now, but it's, it's just easy. And I just wanted things that were, because you had asked before, what is like the impetus that, what is it that they say? Like, necessity is the mother of invention. That's what it was for me. Sometimes finding the most simple thing, like this is a sample fabric, although I'm sure clearly other people wear cream. I'm not that responsible. But in black, I would live in this. And it's really difficult sometimes, whether that's a basic black shoe, a basic black dress. A lot of designers, and I love it, there's times for it, but it's, a big bow or a plunging back or a bedazzled something. And there's a reason it's called Be Basics, like beyond basics. Like, I felt like I couldn't find that easy go-to, lightweight, has pockets, comfortable black, that was affordable also. Everything's under $100. And even little details where the seam here was initially crossed over, and I said, no, I want to have it mitered so it's clean and flat. Like, people just don't realize there's so many little factors that I can only imagine from a jewelry standpoint, just so many little factors that go into not only the design, but then how that ultimately affects the price too.
Jen, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. So what I'm hearing from this conversation, we sort of took a little bit of a turn here, but what I'm hearing is, for those of you listening who may be interested in starting a business, and you may not actually know what that business is yet, to look for the opportunities or the thing that you want yourself that you don't have. And that was how your business was sort of born out of a need to fill a space in your closet. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because I know a lot of brilliant women who are business minded. They're like kind of ready to run a business. But they don't have the business. So it's like, and then, that's why Molly and Stephanie sound like such a good ham and egg, because you kind of had the best of both worlds here.
We've spoken about this before. You also have to say there's a difference between a hobby and a business. And I think that going through a pandemic, and, Molly and I both have young children, those around us have witnessed firsthand that a hobby doesn't have to be every day. When you own a business, it's not 9 to 5, it's 24/7. You have money on the line, you have your reputation on the line, you have orders to fulfill. So whoever is planning to start a business, you have to ask yourself, well, do I really want a hobby, or am I in it for the long run? Because anyone here can attest, whether, Jen, you might be starting this business now, but you got to this point from years of styling and building a reputation. It does not happen overnight. And anyone who's looking for that overnight success, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And even for this business, like the Argyle House owner, his name's Human, like we started just in the design phase of me saying, look, every day I just want to wake up and pull on a little black tunic top with a pocket. Why is that so difficult? I don't have to spend $500 on it. Why can't I spend $55, you know? And yes, like, and it's not even like I've made a cent, not 1 cent. The amount of time that goes into sourcing fabrics, making the pattern, then having fit models, then having the fit models try the stuff, then doing the tailoring, then having a second fitting. I mean, then you get into social media, marketing, PR, having enough samples that you can gift things to people like you guys, Lindsay, that Lindsay can then give to a client and say, hey, wear this when you go to a pet food store or you go to get coffee. And, you know, we need our friends, you know, we need other stylists and our friends to support us. And the amount of, like, exactly what you said, it's not a hobby. If you are not mentally and emotionally prepared for the roller coaster ride of development and production and manufacturing, and then who's going to ship it, the logistics of all of that stuff, sourcing the material, and knowing that you are in the red, like you are fully in the red for a period of time until, you know, you can finally see your dream, you know, come to life and actually be something that is a business.
It almost feels like we're describing romantic relationships here. If the feeling isn't there, you're not going to weather all the storms. You're not going to go through the ups and the downs. And you've got to, your heart and your passion has got to be in it, because when you're sitting there at 3 a.m, you know, looking at papers, you're not going to be, you know, so you're not going to be committed. You're not going to want to see it through. And so I think the reason we're all here and we've all been working as long as we have, even though we all look quite fresh, quite young, no, I'm just kidding. We're making ourselves sound so old, but the passion has to be there. Something I want to talk about is, I mean, you know, in any business, there are good days. There are some of the worst days. What would you tell someone starting out? I mean, besides having passion, like, are there any words of wisdom to sort of just keep, like, staying inspired, how do you know, like, when to stick with it, I guess is what I'm asking, and when to call it? Because I think you can have a lot of those days when you're starting a business where you're like, I'm out, even if you love it.
I feel like failure is a step. So don't be afraid of falling, because that's the only reason. I feel like success is a culmination of the failures that propel you to get to where that goal is in the end. So I think my quick words of wisdom is just don't be afraid of failure, and just figure out what you can learn from it and keep on going, and don't let it break you. Just hop back up, persevere.
I mean, I agree with that completely, because the reality is, without failure, I don't know that we would it's like we wouldn't appreciate success as much, you know. You need the barometer of some failure in some way, or some struggle, to be able to appreciate when things are going well. And it's not easy, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, especially styling, you know, because it's very, very relationship based. It takes a long time to build those relationships. And, you know, just as more and more people start to sort of trust that they're in good hands with you, it kind of just like evolves on its own, I guess. But I think, yeah, people just have to not give up. You know, if you really want something, it's like Stephanie said, like it can't just be a hobby. If you really want to get to a certain place, you have to be, like you said, 24/7 committed, even on the worst days. And believe me, we're in the worst days now, especially as like a union costume designer. There are approximately less than 0 commercials shooting. I mean, there's nothing. For Lindsay, for us, like, there's no red carpet. There will be no TCAs. We would be prepping Emmys by now, and that's not happening. Like, it's really very, very challenging to adapt, but that's also a big part of it too. I think, you know, if you have a dream and a passion for something, you do have to be willing to adapt, whether it's jewelry, and maybe you say to yourself, we're not going to compromise our fine jewelry, but maybe to supplement, we're going to add a small collection of things that are under 1,000 or under 500. You know, you do have to adapt to this current reality, that whether that's going direct to consumer, using more social media. Like, you gotta be thinking 24, your brain is going at light speed.
Yeah, I think that was, yeah. Sorry, what, Steph?
Stephanie, the other thing also to note is that, and every business is different. You never know. Some businesses are funded, some are self-funded. You know, you just never know what goes on behind the scenes. But just pumping in money does not mean you'll get from point A to point B. We've learned over the years, it's also all about timing. There were times where we met with a digital advertising company, you know, years ago, but we weren't ready. We weren't at a place yet where we had enough traffic to our site to justify doing digital advertising. So same thing with PR. Sometimes you have to wait to just pick up a new vendor or partner for the right time.
I mean, you're saying something I think is really interesting, which is we live in an Insta culture, and sometimes people want instant results. So they buy things, whether it's followers, certain things to create optics that might make their business look more important, but then there might be like a discrepancy between the reality. Sorry, I'm going down a path I wasn't planning on going down. But I think that there's something about being authentic and real. Absolutely. Instead of trying in as much as there is an artifice and an art form to social media, and not trying to get instant results to make something seem like it's something it's not, because
there's no shortcut.
There's no shortcuts because the truth always reveals itself. At least that has been my experience. Let's talk about something positive, which is something that, if you could just give an example, something inspirational or like a high moment of this business journey. Like, is there one moment where you were just kind of like, wow, this has all been worth it?
Oprah called me.
What?
I'm jealous of that.
True.
Oh my God.
And I
think I missed it. I missed what was said.
I said Oprah called me.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lady O.
I need to hear it all. I love her.
And scene.
I'm quitting. I've just decided.
She's the ultimate class.
She called you directly?
Molly, you can take it from here.
This was definitely a high moment. I'm glad you brought it up, Steph. We lend jewelry all the time to magazines and stylists for different shoots, and we never know what it's for. We don't even bother asking, because in the beginning we would ask and you get your hopes up, and then it doesn't pan out. There's just no fun. So we had lent jewelry to O Magazine for a shoot. We didn't know what it was for, anything. And then we got the jewelry back. It was returned to us, and we went on with our lives. And a couple of weeks later, I woke up in the morning to a text message from a girlfriend, and it was the cover of People magazine, and Oprah was like doing a hand model shot like this, wearing one of our signature rings and a big pair of earrings. It was like I died. I couldn't even believe it, because
that's a good one.
Jewelry to people. We lent it to O Magazine, and we didn't even understand the path on how it, but it was obviously for her for a shoot, and she wore it for this People shoot, and it was unbelievable. So after that, we reached out to the stylist and thanked her and offered her our children, and then we wrote a handwritten note to Oprah and gifted her the ring, because it was like a perfect fit and it just looked so good. It was like a big deal. And next thing you know, one of Oprah's people called Stephanie and said, Steph, are you and Molly on the line? I have somebody for you or something. And I hung up the phone because I was getting my daughter off the bus.
I have chills all over my body. I don't know why.
I will never forgive my oldest daughter, because I needed to get her off the bus. And Stephanie calls me back and she's like, Molly, it was Oprah on the phone. And I said, stop it. You're making this up. She was messing with me because I hung up the phone so abruptly. But no, Oprah called Stephanie and thanked her personally for the ring.
Wow.
Okay, so this story is very important for many reasons. First of all, I have the chills, but more importantly, that Oprah, I can't think of somebody who embodies the spirit of this panel more, is not above a personal call, a thank you. I mean, you wrote a handwritten note.
Is
And
that
I think something,
she must
it's like the most lovely, wonderful thing. I didn't think my opinion of her could be higher, but it just shows you like human kindness and also conducting yourself in a professional, lovely, gracious way, having gratitude. Maybe you guys can talk about that. I mean, I just this idea of if you want to be a working person and have a thriving business, I think part of that is exercising kindness,
Absolutely.
gratitude.
For us, we also always say, you go into Tiffany and no matter how much you spend, you get a blue box, right? It's the experience, whether it's $20 or $2,000, it's all about the experience. And for us, we like to bring that into our business as well. So with most packages, if we can send a handwritten note, we do. And we put as much care into a $150, entry level chain link ring as we do a $15,000 all diamond ring, and think about how that customer will perceive it when they open it up. Because ultimately, as Jen said, it's about people business. And you don't like to say that the customer's always right, but you know what? The customer's always right. And you want them to you want them to leave feeling good. What one person maybe saved weeks money worth of to buy something, everyone has their own reason for buying and doing and styling what they want to wear, and they want to feel good. So for us, it's back to that same thing. We had no intention of Oprah acknowledging it. That was not even our thought process. It was just to thank her for wearing our jewelry so beautifully and making us proud. And it was that aha moment for us where we were like, okay, maybe we made it, until someone that better comes along that can wear it.
There's better. I was going to say, like, there's
no one better.
I've had a lot of great, red carpet moments and things where I would think, oh gosh, when I'm dead, which at this point might be sooner than planned. I know that some looks that I've done with different people will be in those books, like an Andre Harrell or like an Herb Ritz, but whatever, like books, fashion books that I look at now from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Like one day, I believe some things I've done will end up in those books, but it's kind of all irrelevant. I'm going to go just drink some bleach because Oprah called them, and that's so natural. But it really is so true that, and I know Lindsay would agree with me 1,000%, like having gratitude on every level is by far and away the most important thing that a person can have. And I don't care if that's us as stylists having gratitude that, a friend of mine, made me these necklaces, or let's say it's Ashley at A-List and she gifts us a skincare thing, or a jewelry brand, gives us a little ring. Like, we have to have gratitude, and whether that's doing a post just saying thank you for that, or writing back a note, or just wearing it all the time. And the same goes for clients. Like when a client has gratitude when they walk into a fitting and see just how hard that, people think it's so easy. Oh, fashion, whatever, you get to shop all day. Oh my God, that's amazing. Your job must be incredible. But they would like die if they followed us for, I don't even think they would make a 10-hour, let alone a 16-hour day. So when a client has gratitude, when we have gratitude, when the designers have gratitude for how hard sometimes we might push for a certain look because we really want to see that designer. There is so much of our lives is calling or emailing a showroom or a designer to say, thank you so much. It didn't work out this time, but we'll try again. That's 95% of it. And the 5% of it that you get to type to a designer and say, yes, yours is the look that's in the limo now, and we'll hit the red carpet in 15 minutes. And the designer, like you guys said, like, they don't necessarily know exactly what we're pulling for or where their pieces are going to land. And it's the best feeling for me in the world to be able to send that email or phone call to, like, a Margot Siegel or Durazio or whoever and say, yeah, it's your thing that's going to be, and it's great. Like, you know that you can have an effect on that brand's business. Like, if I pull a certain bag from Everlane and a client gets photographed, the next day they'll email me and say, oh, that bag sold out from that photograph. And you believe in the company and you believe in the brand. So then to see that, you know, something that you did had an effect on helping to build that brand, like it's a great feeling, you know, because we really do all try hard to support each other.
Totally. I'm going to share a very small snippet that I've never told Jen Raid about, but I remember at my very early on in my career, I was going to a showroom to see what was new for spring. And it was one of the showrooms that it's just a Heather Magidson, who's like the kindest person. And she does everything with a kind heart. So it makes you want to go there even more. Like Margot, you just like, some people you just love and you connect with. And if you're good and you're, you know, grateful and do everything with a kind heart, I know you attract those people. So anyway, I went there and Jen was there, and I remember her talking about like doing this like Iggy Azalea music video and Pink, like something she was doing at the time, and being so invigorated. Like, I am around people that are doing things and like strong women that like work every day, do what they love. Their passion is what they do. And I remember being just so grateful to be in the room and leaving with such a happy disposition and writing Heather, like, thank you. That just turned my day around. I don't know why, just being around like wonderful women. Cut to, I get to like sit by you like in Paris at a runway show that I've dreamt of going to my entire life, and even to be on a panel with you today and be at any sort of your same level when you've been doing this for so long, and I've admired so much your work. So it's just, I'm just so grateful. And if you do things with a grateful heart, I feel like it all comes back to you and it makes your job not a job anymore, you know.
Lindsay's gonna make me cry.
I love it. But you know what? What just happened is so indicative of this industry, which is that we are all so closely connected to one another. It's just whether it's, I mean, tomorrow we might find each other, you know, sitting at a show together, going to a showroom, working on a project. You just never know who's on the other end of that call, that email. And I think something I learned, and this is now turning into just professional advice, is you never know whose assistant you're talking to and who that assistant will become. That assistant could become the CEO of the company that becomes the hottest thing. You just never know. So all of these kind of words of wisdom in terms of just how we talk to people and having that open heart and just like being grateful to be where we love to be, you know, can only advance you. So yeah, I love it. I love that you guys sit less than 6 degrees of separation for sure.
Like, for example, like if we're on set shooting a commercial or a video, anything, like, you never know. You have to treat every single person with respect. You know, everybody's there. PA, art department, grips, gaffers, electrics, craft service, we're all there to just work our hardest and make a great product. And you have to treat everybody with respect and like allow them to do their job to the best of their ability, because that guy that is a PA today, next year, he's going to be Steven Spielberg. And you're going to need that guy to hire you as the costume designer. And you just, exactly like you said, you know, you don't know that person that is assisting Lindsay today, a month, 3 months from now, might be the fashion editor at InStyle or the accessories editor. And you want them, then you want them to say, oh, let's talk like Booth Moore or someone who I love. Like, if I want to be able to call Booth and say, hey, can you do a little story for me on my brand Be Basics? Like, I feel like I have a good relationship with her where she'll do that. And same, like if I want to give Lindsay pieces to give to clients, like if you're not nice to people and respectful and I ask no one for nothing, like I'm not a good person at like I'll push very hard for someone else, but I'm horrible at promoting myself or that kind of thing. But I feel like I've done that my whole life. And now when it finally comes time for me to say, hey, PR showroom to be determined, that I want to help gift things, do this for me because I've given you so much support and press for your brands, or hey, get this to your clients, or write this little article for me. It's all relationship based. So,
and I think again goes back to what we've been saying, which is it's like, it's about the slow, authentic build, not the Insta relationships, not the Insta everything. It's I think it's sort of like the people that prove themselves in the long haul really do the work. You know, you're on the floor, you're packing your trunks, you're calling your own samples in, like you earn sort of like this, the assistant, you earn all of these, you know, I've spent many hours, I like to say, in my fashion career on the floor. That is just where you end up when you work in this business.
I always say I spent many hours on my knees.
Yeah. It's
like head under a dress. We're on our knees. Like honestly, like if I have an assistant, maybe it's their first time and they come to work in like 4-inch stilettos, I already know it's not going to work out for me. I'm like, no, you better be ready to run. Like if you cannot do a marathon in those shoes, this is not going to work out. You know, this isn't where you're coming to like look pretty and meet your future husband. No.
I'm going to quickly change tracks here just because I don't think we have that much more time. Do any of you have mentors? And do you believe having a mentor is important?
It's so important.
Doesn't have to be yes.
It's so
Lindsay.
Important. So I'm going to jump right in. But I had a mentor. Her name was Kelly Stone. And I feel like I came from a conservative background, like in the South. And I came to LA and I interned for her, and she just taught me that it was okay to be fabulous and it was okay to, you know, leopard with a purple shoe. And I feel like I love my background too, you know, and I just being able to combine them both was so important. And so I feel so important about, it's close to my heart to mentor. Someone wrote me on Instagram this week and asked me, they were like, as a mentoree, and I was like, yes, let's set up a call. You know, like I really do want to help because it is so hard to get started. Our business is so specific and small, and you know, you have to know people there. So I know you can't answer every call, but you know, I think it is important. So I tried to pick up the phone. We had a call today and I was like, how can I help? You know, and answer any questions I could. So I think it's so important.
That's awesome. That's great. I believe in mentorship, especially among women. It can be challenging. I
think in a lot of ways, every client I've ever worked with has been a little bit of a mentor because I've learned something from them. And even going back to something we were talking about before, you know, with Lindsay talking about, you know, you do have to fail sometimes. Like that could be as small as just in a fitting. I always will say to someone, hey, even if you think this is going to look horrible, it actually helps me to see it on you, because then I see, oh, I get it. Shoulder pads, this is why they really don't work on you, or this is why an orange-based red is wrong, but a blue-based red might be okay. So even in a fitting situation, you really have to try, because you don't know what's going to work until you try it. But on the mentor thing, I would say for me, it's my parents. You know, my dad, both my mom, you know, my mom was the vice president of the company. My dad was president. They built a company together, which is very difficult, you know, to be married as long as they've been and to work together, and nobody's died yet. They haven't killed each other. And every day, like I seriously talk to my parents every single day. I talk to my dad and mom about, you know, whether it's the brand or, you know, just business decisions, offers that might get made to me. You know, what do I think long term? My dad is very challenging to me as far as where do you see yourself being at such and such age? You know, how do you see this evolving? Even though they live in Philadelphia, the film industry is very foreign to them, but still, and even just in a style sense, you know, I remember being in like high school and even now, you know, my mom is always very chic, black, some Donna Karan thing with like a legging, and then her over the knee Stuart Weitzman boots and her little Manolos and things that I didn't really think sunk into my head as a kid. I was not that interested. Maybe at 16, I was like, oh, I beg you to let me borrow your little Louis Vuitton zippered. And, you know, it's a no, because why? Because you got a D in math. So it's no Louis Vuitton borrowing for you. But all these little things that you don't necessarily think affect you, then you grow up and you look back and you're like, yeah, my dad is not, well, I don't want to say he's not stylish. If you consider tennis shorts year round, literally the same pair, maybe for a month straight, no joke, and then he'll put on a scarf. He's got a style all to himself. He's a member of the Sock of the Month Club. He's an absolute riot. My parents are really funny, but they inspire me and they challenge me, and they are always asking me, you know, things that it's really hard to ask yourself sometimes, like, where do you see the future of your life and your business? And my parents are both, they just would say, like, if you don't try something, you really won't know. Even if you fail at it, my dad always says to me, you either win or you learn. And either way, you're winning. Even if you're learning, you're winning. So if you don't take a chance on something, and what better thing to take a chance on than yourself, you'll never really know what is on the other side.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, trying, just the effort is the reward. I love that your parents are mentors for you. That's a special answer. And I think, listen, not everybody has the ability to use their parents as mentors, but I think that's awesome. And I think really the moral of the story here is everyone needs someone to challenge their ideas, but also support and sort of nurture and guide. And I think to have people you can trust around you, I think we had talked about just that sense of building your community around you, being so vital to having a business.
And I think
so.
it's important. If people always say to us, "Oh my God, if they work, no one can do it all." So if you're starting your own business and it's just you don't have a partner or business partner, you need someone else to bounce something off of. So for Molly and I, it's great that we have each other, but sometimes there's, a divide and we're not sure. And likewise, we do turn to our family a lot. And I think it's important to not be afraid to ask questions for things you don't know. So when it comes to financial, or even now dealing with the pandemic and all the loans from the bank, we are not, I was a business minor, but I don't claim to be an accountant. And it's okay to ask people questions if you're unsure, because there are people who know more than you. We did work with a consultant, and we found also that sometimes surrounding ourselves with people who are not in the jewelry industry was helpful for us. I think that the world has changed so much. It's not all about just fashion or jewelry or, movies. You go into a store like Elise Walker, who we sell to, and you can walk in there and you can buy anything and everything. So the way people shop has changed. And I think us too, it's about surrounding yourselves with women who are not just in the jewelry industry. It's people who are in all industries to learn from, because whether you're selling clothing or jewelry, it's all the same. It's how you go about doing it.
I'm giving, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like that with clothing or anything, like, just like I was saying before, when it comes to criticism or people who want to be critiquing fashion and things like that, like, that's not the person I'm trying to please. Honestly, I'm really not trying to please anybody but myself and the client. But ultimately, whether it's this brand or a red carpet moment, I'm happier if it's just a person, like Lindsay said, maybe someone I don't know that DMs me and says, oh gosh, I never even thought to wear this color and this color. Or, I would so much rather get that email from like an accountant in Florida that's like, I love this and here's why, than a person who's so ingrained in fashion and the designer name and other things that in a way I feel that head can be clouded sometimes. I'm actually more interested in just, I don't know what the right word, I guess just a civilian person. Like it's one thing I'm sure for you guys as jewelers to have Oprah, like, although she's so like the every woman, she's everything. I mean, she's aspirational and inspirational, but you want that. But at the same time, you also want that person who just lives in Milwaukee and is a teacher, and that's their special gift to themselves, is that they bought your piece. And whether or not that was influenced by someone like me or Lindsay or a celebrity stylist putting it on that person or seeing a celebrity wear it, it's still like, there's just a joy. It's really hard to explain, where it's not a fashion person necessarily that's complimenting 100%. Your work,
100%. We just want to make people happy, and we sell sparkly jewelry. I mean, but people, we want them to enjoy it and wear it. And we love getting emails saying like how much they love their piece, or that they want to custom engrave it because they love, you know, make it more sentimental. That's what we're all
Molly and Stephanie, while we're here and we're on this platform, because we got to hear about Jen's awesome new launch, I kind of want to see a couple pieces around I know you're both wearing them, or I know I didn't ask you to do this ahead of time, but is there like one signature item that's like the starter item from your collection for those who might not know?
Those are pretty.
Oh, Stephanie, are you muted?
Yeah.
So our logo comes from a combination of our middle names, Walters and Faith, and it's this modified hexagon motif. So I would say that my earrings are probably one of the signatures, but it's not really our most popular style over time. Things have definitely evolved.
I'd say like this. This is a Saxon ring I'm wearing. This is an 18 karat gold and it has diamonds because I put it on for you girls. But honestly, in my everyday, I wear it in just sterling silver, and it's just a chain link ring. And this whole collection, the Saxon collection, is kind of what has become very popular for us. Because again, we didn't, just like Jen's amazing tunic, we didn't need to like reinvent the wheel. We love creating unique jewelry, but sometimes it's the basics, and like just a good chain is just awesome. So like I'm just wearing like just the Saxon plain. I don't know. I've got a lot of necklaces on.
I'm like obsessed with the chain link ring. I'm having like a chain link moment where I'm looking and I keep seeing vintage and all. I love exactly what you're saying. Sometimes it's a classic. It's like when people say, "Oh, leopard, is it a trend?" It's like, no, leopard is absolutely a classic. It's just how you wear it. And a piece like that, a chain link, like sometimes it's the hardest thing to find, but it's the best. It's like
when I was at Bloomingdale's, we used to say leopard was our customer's favorite color. But and I actually have to say, I want to get back to being an entrepreneur. We have 2 minutes left. I think what's interesting is I'm staring at everyone's neck game. I'm staring at Lindsay's, even just like simple little, I don't know what's going on, a hoop there or something. But it's like, because of our new reality, I'm so focused on here up, and I'm like so interested in how that's going to impact design going forward. Like, I feel like it's all about short necklaces. What do I know? But I'm seeing a whole renaissance of short necklaces. So I think we have to wind down. I think we have 1 minute. I just want to thank you guys for such a dynamic, interesting discussion. Any last thoughts from everyone? Anything that wasn't covered? I feel like we covered quite a bit. Yeah, Lindsay, you look like you want to say something.
I just want to say, like, at the beginning of your journey, and you just really have to find your tribe, whether it's your business, you know, who's doing your books, who is doing like your taxes, who's, you know, helping you form a company just from the get-go, and how much money goes into that. And then you find your assistant, or if it's your husband that's your business partner almost, because you don't have, you know, Molly and Stephanie. It's like just finding your tribe, and then it's your clientele, and being able to pick and choose and work with people that you love. So just, I don't know, find your tribe.
This is great advice. I want to thank you guys so much excitement here. I'm going to buy myself a diamond necklace and a tunic with pockets from Jen. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. You can follow me at Brooke Jaffe Style. Does everyone want to say their Instagram handles quickly before we go?
At Stylist Jen Reid.
At Lindsay Dupuy.
At Walters Faith.
Okay. Signing off, guys. Have a great week. Thanks, Glam Hive.
Bye, guys.
Great job, ladies. Thank you.